Hey guys, I'm so excited. Welcome to the podcast. This is a good friend of mine. His name is Lewis Butterfield. And Lewis is from the other side of the world. Where do you live, Lewis?
Yeah, I'm in British Columbia, Canada. I live in a city called Kelowna. It's about 4 hours east of Vancouver.
Okay. And
Mhm.
I am bewildered by how good Lewis is at helping people with their LinkedIn and helping them go from a nobody in LinkedIn to someone who people are inquiring of him daily. Can you do this work for me? Can you do this work for me? And NDIS needs that. So he's generously, nothing really in it for him, come over here to help us and to show us how we as NDIS providers can use LinkedIn to harness those future leads coming in, those future referrals. So I guess the question is, Lewis, why LinkedIn? I know a lot of people in NDIS world here are aiming from business to consumer, trying to use Facebook, and they're hitting brick walls everywhere. And
Mm.
then they use LinkedIn and it just works. Why LinkedIn?
Yeah, great question. Facebook has been commercialized really heavily. So if you go on Facebook or anything owned by Meta, really, it could be Instagram as well. Every third post is an ad now, I believe. Something between every 3 to 5 is an ad or a suggested post, or it's really clogged essentially. And what that's done is it's lowered trust on the platform because everything's an ad now, and now people they're tired of being sold to on these platforms basically because that's all that happens on these platforms. And it just yeah, I think that's the biggest one really. You're vying for a lot of attention. Like you really have to fight for that attention on Meta, anything owned by Meta. But when it comes to LinkedIn, and obviously more and more people are piling on every day, so the opportunity gets slimmer and slimmer as time goes on. But there's still a huge opportunity for people who want to be able to attract their ideal client because they can literally target them and connect with them and add them into their network in a way that's so much more targeted than YouTube or Instagram or Facebook, right? Like if you like who does your ideal client like to serve? Like is there a particular niche?
Yeah, most of the people watching this podcast, they own a business that is an NDIS business. It helps people with disabilities. And a
Yeah.
lot of their inquiries are not coming straight from families of people with disabilities. They're coming from support coordinators, which are people who have 30 people on their list who they need to solve
Awesome.
problems for. So what you're saying is LinkedIn, you find those people. Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly it. So, like for support, if you're targeting support providers, you can literally search support providers in the LinkedIn search bar or in Sales Navigator if you have the paid version. And in Australia, in whichever part of Australia, which part of Australia are you in Sydney or Perth or where?
Most of the people listening to this are in Sydney, Melbourne, or Brisbane.
So on the East Coast, you can target which cities they're in, right? And they like you can get really, really granular. Are they support providers in Sydney, Melbourne, or Brisbane? Do they have this many people at their company? Like you can get really granular with this in the search, and then you can add them into your network. So you can go to their profile, you can DM them, you can comment on their content if they post content on LinkedIn, and just start getting to know them. And it's really hard to do that on Facebook. Like in an
Mm.
organic way, it's almost impossible. Facebook is more meant to be like the company or like the family barbecue. It's kind of how I see it, right? It's like you got your friends and family over and you're just like having a barbecue and you're chatting about this, that, and politics or whatever, right? But for LinkedIn, it's about doing business and it's about finding people to connect and partner with. And people kind of expect that on LinkedIn too. I know it's cliche, everybody says this, but it really is a wonderful, relatively untapped gold mine still at this point where people are expecting to do business. They come on the platform to do business. And so that's a huge opportunity for everybody. And I'm sure if you just know what keywords to search, you can find those people.
That's really
It's great.
cool. And the other thing is a lot of the people in this industry actually know each other. So
Great.
if I think of say a mate of mine, Stu Paul, he would know 500 people in the industry. So I can connect with him and then he can connect me with others. Or
Yeah.
say he might be like, Michael, I don't know people in Canberra. Who do you know in Canberra? And I can connect him with others and it's seamless. It takes no time at all. And
Yeah.
you just can't do that through email or whatever. People don't trust you. But on LinkedIn, there's that automatic trust. And I love what you're saying
Totally.
about, yeah, about Facebook is for barbecues and old people and showing off pictures of your dog. No one
Yeah.
wants you to market to them on Facebook. But on LinkedIn, it'd be weird if you showed pictures of your dog, although I've done that before, let's be honest. But
Yeah.
people want you to actually talk about business. So the things I'd love you to help our audience with is this. In the
Sure.
NDIS industry, things are going downhill so fast, and so many business owners are going to be struggling. And the reason why they're struggling is because they don't have new inquiries coming in all the time. Now,
Mm,
part of the issue is when I look through their LinkedIn posts, instead of them giving advice or giving ideas, they're showing photos of them eating cake with another industry provider. If
mm,
you were in, say, my shoes as a provider and you were trying to let other providers know, hey, you can refer to me because I specialize in this and this, how would you
mm,
go about doing that without being pushy, without being needy, but
yeah.
just how would you do that over a period of, say, a month or two?
Yeah, yeah, sure. So there's a few ways. I think the primary way is you need to understand what it is that people come to you for. Like, what is the outcome they are expecting to get when they work with you as a provider?
Whoever comes to them is going to be well looked after, well nurtured,
Yeah,
and generally it's going to be, say, someone with a disability having someone come into their home and help, or having accommodation for that person with a disability, stuff like that. The outcome's really clear, so they could put forward what the outcome is.
sure. Yeah. Yeah. So like if they want people to be really well looked after and really well cared for, then you show examples of how you've really looked after and cared for people or how they can look after and care for their people with disability. You know, like it's a matter of proving that I always it's this proof of concept notion. Like you need to prove that you have either done the thing for yourself or done it for others, right? And you do that by either giving away your secrets. So, like, this is how we do this. This is exactly, these are all our methods. It's not true for all industries. Not all industries can give away secrets and give exact step-by-step processes and that kind of thing.
We
And
totally
that's
can.
okay.
We
You
can
can?
do that.
Okay, great. So do that, right? Like, this is the way, this, and this is how we do this, right? Or how you can do it too. Or you sort of, there's another method which is called like belief shifting content, which is really, really wonderful for getting people to side with how you view your work and your industry. And the way belief shifting content works is you state a common objection or falsely held belief in your industry that everyone knows to be true, but actually isn't true, right? Like it might not actually be serving people in the best possible way. And you call that belief out and show why it's wrong, right? You prove that it's wrong through evidence and, you know, through your experience. And then you give the actual belief they should be thinking, and then present the reasons why it's right. Okay?
Okay, let's
And when
play
you
with that
do
already.
that,
In my industry, there's these guys called plan managers, okay? And they are the worst to deal with. If you surveyed 100 people, 90 of them will say, I hate dealing with plan managers. Because plan managers are the people who pay bills to the providers, to the business owners, and they're
yeah,
generally slow and they just, if you could be worse at your job, I don't know how. That's generally how it
okay,
goes. So the
okay.
false belief would be a plan manager will never send you a referral. Now, I've
Mm,
had referrals from plan managers, but it's pretty darn rare. So what you're saying is you'd call that out. You'd go, right, the false, it's not true that plan managers will never send you a referral. And then
mhm.
you'd be like, and here's the evidence. And I'd be like, Stu Paul. Or I'd be like, pick another person who I just know is a plan manager who gives referrals. What does
Yeah,
that
yeah.
look like when you actually go to put that out there?
Yeah, well, typically it's like, you know, you'd state at the beginning, plan managers never give referrals, right? And then like, you know, I used to think this was true, but then what actually happened is I got this referral from this person. And the way I did that was by this process, right? So, false belief, I used to think this was true because this, that, and the other reason. However, this is what the reality is of the situation. And this is how I made that reality happen. Does that make sense?
Wow. Do you do that through video or through writing the text?
You can do it with both. Both work great for it. It's great. This is like the primary way to make people come to your side of the table or sort of believe in your systems and your way of viewing things. That this is what all the greatest marketers do, is this right here. And the more you do that, the more people see you as the professional and you as the authority versus everybody else in your niche who are all just talking about the same thing. Like, for instance, in my niche, you know, I do LinkedIn marketing, right? I do video marketing for LinkedIn. Everybody and their dog says consistency is key, right? You gotta be consistent. Consistency is key. Consistency is key. And what I say is like, actually, consistency isn't actually the most important thing. The most important thing is making a couple of banger videos a week. And what that will do is deepen your trust at levels that being 5 posts in weekly will ever do for you, right? And the proof is I've made 50 videos and now I'm working with these dream clients over here, and I did that in 5 months, right? So there's proof that what I am saying is true, right? And so it's a way of going against the grain of what everybody's saying. Consistency is key. Actually, no, you only need 2 videos a week as long as they're really, really good, right?
That's
So,
amazing. That is,
yeah.
that's amazing because even I've believed consistency is key. That's why every Monday I release this podcast. Every
Yeah.
Tuesday I release like this silly skit, like this comedy skit, because I was told consistency is key. What you're saying is actually no, it's not about that. It's about doing good quality stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's about making people want to come consume your content, not just like making it just to make it. And so I don't know. That's just an example, right? Like that's an example from my industry and my niche, which I know quite well. The same can go for what you guys are doing down there in down under, right? Like it's the exact same thing. There's this commonly held belief. Actually, that's not true. And you can even use AI to help you with this if people are familiar with AI. You can say, these are the commonly held beliefs in my industry, and just kind of list them off for AI and say, can you give me some contrarian viewpoints for these that might go against the grain of what everybody else is saying? And it won't be perfect, but it'll give you some ideas to start from, and then you can use that to ideate and create your own ideas and create your own posts. And it's not rocket science, right? It's just about having a contrarian viewpoint to what everybody else is saying, and that's the thing that makes you stand out.
You amaze me. I've never sat in a podcast before and heard stuff that is just transformed how I view something in such a short time. It makes so much sense. Okay,
Awesome.
here's another question. I try to give about half my posts on LinkedIn, for example, and people listening to this, you know that's true, are me promoting someone else and what they're doing and highlighting to the world, look what this guy's doing. Look what Penny from Able Minds is doing. He's helping guys who have never had a job to make coffee and serve coffee. Or I'd be, oh, look what the guys from my treehouse are doing with their amazing support workers that are just through the roof level trained. And I put them up. But then sometimes people tell me, Michael, your stuff's always appearing on my feed. Oh, actually, you're doing too much of it. Now, what do I do in a situation like that?
If you're appearing too much,
That's
is that a
what they're
problem?
saying. Which I'm like, wouldn't
Is
the
it
algorithm
is it
detect them?
annoying?
Well, I don't know. Maybe they'd rather see pictures of people's cats and cake on Facebook. I don't know, but
I
I don't
don't
know what to
know. I
do.
don't
So,
know.
yeah, how
I
often
think
should someone be posting on LinkedIn?
before I address that, the biggest problem people have when going to post on LinkedIn is that they get too in their heads about it and then they don't post at all.
Yeah.
Okay? So it's not about like how many posts you should make. It's just about starting and learning as you go. Okay? Like that is the most important. This is what the most successful people do across the board. They have no clue what they're doing. They're just starting and figuring it out as they go. Okay? So don't let my answer dissuade you into thinking you need to be perfect because you don't. So for me, the way I did it was I was posting 2 to 3 high quality videos a week, and that's how I built what I do. And now that I have my systems in place, I'm able to ramp it up more and more, right? So I'd say it doesn't really matter how much you're posting. 2 to 3 times a week is fine. You know, if you don't have a lot of time, just do that and just really focus on building relationships more than posting. It's building relationships. So it's again finding those keywords of people in your industry, in your geographical location, in your niche, right, with the right company headcount and all this stuff, and then connecting with them and starting conversations and just networking. LinkedIn's a networking platform, and your content is there to build trust gradually over time. It's a catalog of your experience. So when somebody is checking you out, they'll go to your content and say, does this person really know what they're talking about? And they'll kind of flip through your content. This is what happens with us. They'll go through. I had a guy who's like, I watched every single one of your videos. It's like 52 videos. I've watched them all back to back. I was like, that is what content does. Like it just gives them this place where they can go and check out your history and your experience so that they can decide whether or not they like what you do and they want to work with you. But the trick is that you just need to start those conversations and build those relationships first, right? That's more important than like how many times do I need to post.
Here's what I see. I see a lot of business development managers, which is a fancy way of saying marketing person in NDIS. A marketing person with a cool title. Okay, so I see a lot of them spending 10, 15, 20 hours a week driving all over the place, having coffees with people, going to networking events. Let's imagine if that disappeared tomorrow. Let's imagine if, as of tomorrow, a new COVID hit or something, suddenly we can't go and get together. Let's imagine
Sure.
your only tool was LinkedIn.
Yeah.
What would you do? Let's imagine you only had 300 connections on LinkedIn and you barely used it. But somehow through this, mystical scenario, that's your only tool. Lewis,
Yeah.
what would you do?
Oh man. So first I would talk to the people who I've worked with in the past to understand why they worked with me, what made them decide to work with me in the first place, why me versus other people, what objections did they have, what fears did they have. And from that market research, you can design your messaging on your profile, your content, all that. But it all starts with that, right? So go talk to people you've already worked with and be like, why did you choose us over all the other providers? That's step one. Step two is that now that I have that research, I would begin my distribution. So now you can go and find people in your niche who are either in your niche or in a parallel niche to you, like a parallel industry, and begin forming relationships with them. And again, you can search them in the LinkedIn search or Sales Navigator
That bit's
search.
easy because, say, a business development manager, they want to talk to, say, a community engagement officer or a support worker's managing director.
Exactly. And because your messaging on your LinkedIn now will be good because you've spoken with past clients who told you why they worked with you, they'll be more inclined to accept your connection request, right? And then from there, you start conversations. You DM them. You send a voice note if you can. You say, "Hey, I really like what you're doing, appreciate being able to chat, how's things going for you?" That kind of stuff. Like you're just literally being human and starting connections on the platform, right? And then, so from that's going to fix your messaging, and that's going to fix your distribution now, because now you've perfected what you're saying and you've perfecting who you're saying it to. From there, you start creating content to help them, right? So as you're adding these people in your niche or in parallel niches, you're creating content to help nurture them and to show that you know what you're talking about. Again, it's this proof of concept, right? So you're adding them on LinkedIn, you're starting conversations, you're commenting on their stuff, you're liking what they do, you're networking. It's like a networking event, right? You're just showing love and getting into their sphere and letting them know that you exist. And then when they see your content and see that you can help them and see that you know what you're talking about, they'll be more inclined. Every time they see a post, that's another little chip. That's another little, oh, this person really knows what they're talking about. Oh, that's a new thing I didn't know before. Oh, that's a contrarian viewpoint that I didn't think about was possible before, right?
So, little side question.
Yeah.
Does putting up a photo of you having cake with another provider, another business owner, do the job? Or what would you be doing in that circumstance?
Actually, there is a place for collaboration posts. So I would consider that a collaboration post.
Yep.
But with collaboration posts, what you can do is essentially transfer the trust and authority that the person you are collaborating with onto your face in your account, right? So this is why I did podcasts with Lara Costa, Yasmin Alish, Al Ratcliffe, Nick Brokema, Matt Lakayev, all these sort of big names on LinkedIn. If you know these people, it's great. If you don't, that's fine. But they have big followings, right? And what happens is that when I talk with them, their audience trusts me because they see my face next to theirs. And they say, oh, this Lewis guy must be trustworthy because Lara or Yasmin or Matt or Nick or Niall or whoever trusted him enough to get on a podcast with him. Kind of like what we're doing right now, right? So it's the same thing. Like you transfer trust and authority by collaborating with other people. So if you want to take a photo having cake with another provider, that's fine as long as that other provider has an audience that you want to be in front of and that can ultimately help your business and ideally their business too, to like combine authority and trust for one another.
That is remarkable. It's like, Lewis, you are a Jedi Knight. I am so grateful for you because, I've watched your post for ages. Then I reached out to you. I'm like, why would someone from Canada care about the disability industry in Australia? And you clearly do. And in a moment, you're going to head off and I'm going to actually throw in a few more bits and pieces that I've learnt from you. Okay. But before I do that, Lewis, if someone actually wanted to learn a lot about LinkedIn, one is they could pay the big bucks to someone like you. And you know what? It would come back 10 times over. What's your website?
Yeah, you can just go to my LinkedIn. I'm Lewis Butterfield on LinkedIn, and then I have a landing page in my featured section that you can check out.
So how many Lewis Butterfields can there be from Canada? Not too many. Okay, so you'll find him that way.
I don't think so.
Or if they wanted to learn more themselves, how would they do that?
If they want to learn more themselves, oh man, there's so much free goodness on LinkedIn that you can learn this stuff for free. Like, it's not just my content, right? Like, I try to give away everything for free, but check out Nick Brokema. That's Nick, Nickbroekema. If you want to learn about how content psychology works, check him out. If you want to learn about how personal branding works, look at Lara Acosta, Acosta, Lara Acosta. You'll learn everything you need to build a personal brand for free. It's all there. If you want to learn about writing, check out Dakota Robertson. He literally teaches all his secrets. Like, these people don't gate anything. It's just they know people are going to pay for implementation if they can't do it themselves. But if you want to learn it for free, they give it away for free. So that's the best way.
That is amazing. Well, I'm going to keep chatting to people. Thank you for your time. I'm just
Yeah, no
grateful.
worries.
I'm grateful that you came and hung out with us. Thank you from Australia. I love it.
Yeah, no worries, Michael. Thanks for having me on, man. It's honestly great to meet you, okay?
You too, mate. So the things that Lewis would have covered if we had a bit more time today, what I would recommend is getting a paid LinkedIn account, a paid personal one. It's somewhere between 50 and $80 a month. And the first month is free anyway. And that enables you to go to the connections, the My Network tab, and click on other connections and invite them to join you. It gives you, I think it's 120 per week. So that's 500 people a month you can be trying to connect with. You don't get that without the paid account. Okay, so that's how you quickly build a network, and instead of having to wait for everyone to find you. And don't pay for ads, instead pay for LinkedIn, that you've got that access. That would be my recommendation. And the other thing is, it's like, I see in our industry so much, there's lots of people showing they collaborate with others, which Lewis was talking about that in terms of, there's like a transference of trust. Okay, if there's a photo of you with someone big in your local area, people trust you. Okay, if I had a photo of me with, say, Penny from Able Minds, people are like, well, Penny wouldn't hang out with an idiot. Okay, Michael must be okay. Like that. So there's value in that, but there's also so much value in being a thought leader, in giving your ideas, in giving your best advice. And best advice is things like, okay, how do we make sure support workers are on track? We do this, we do that, we screen this, we do that. How do we make sure that participants, when they're being onboarded, that they have a good experience? Things like, one, we don't make our phone message voicemail abusive, because let's be honest, there are some people who, their voicemail, you listen to it, you feel bad just hearing it. You're like, I haven't done anything wrong and I'm being told not to yell at their staff. I just met you. List out the things that you do well, give that information away, you win the game, okay? Because what LinkedIn in Australia, in NDIS world, provider world, is craving is people who will put out ideas, people who'll have an opinion and stand behind it and give evidence for it, okay? And if you need an example of that, one example would be, go to my LinkedIn, Michael Clark. You can find me through Athletic Koala. That's the easiest way. Athletic Koala's LinkedIn, and then from there it's easy to find me because there's too many Michael Clarks. But if you look through, about 1 in every 4 of my posts are advice, and it's opinionated. It's hard because none of this stuff is fact, and you're giving away opinions that you know aren't fact, but they're the most honest truth that I know. So you be opinionated. Why would we pull back from that? And you might think, I'm a BDM, I'm not allowed to have an opinion. You sure as heck are. If you don't have an opinion, you won't have referrals. People refer to people who have strong opinions that are correct, not dumb opinions. No one cares about your political opinions or your sporting team. They care about, do you have a strong opinion about how to serve people, how to help people? Okay, so that would be my best advice. And I'm channeling my inner Lewis there, if that was such a thing. But guys, I just want to encourage you. LinkedIn is, when it's done well, it's the difference between begging for referrals and having people contact you. When I first started using LinkedIn, I had to go to all these networking events, and that's how I generated my work. Now, I pretty much don't need to go to networking events. I go because it's fun, or because I get to see people I know really well and I look forward to seeing them. But 90% of my work, doing people's websites or whatever, comes through people seeing my content on LinkedIn and getting in touch with me. So that's people coming to you. That's not you begging for referrals. So I just want to encourage everyone listening to this. LinkedIn is the biggest, best opportunity I know of in 2025 for generating new inquiries. It's not going to come from Facebook. In 2022, it was Facebook. You put a Facebook ad, someone would get in touch with you. They'd say, can you help my son or daughter? That was 2022. In 2025, you don't get one referral from Facebook. You get 5 referrals from people in the know in LinkedIn who will send you multiple referrals, or you get questions coming from other people in the industry going, hey, can you help my participant with ABC? And over a year or so, that person might send you 3 or 4 requests like that. Well, think about that at scale. Think about if you've got 10 of those sort of people. So I just really want to encourage people. It's a hard time in NDIS world. The reason Lewis came on today is because I explained to him this is a hard season for us. We need some help, okay? Because there are people who are just going to struggle unless they get their marketing right, and that's why I invite him on. But this is a hard season. I would recommend don't ignore LinkedIn. And I literally spend about 6 hours of my week on LinkedIn. If you look at how much content posts I create, my silly skit videos of, NDIS provider classroom thing, there's a lot of time, minimum 6 hours. Some weeks it's significantly more. But all that time generates what I need, which is plenty of people knowing who I am and what I do. There's no reason why that can't apply to a BDM, to a managing director, why it can't apply to a community engagement officer. Go and be known as an expert in your field. And the easiest way that I know to do that is LinkedIn. If you've got any questions, you could just send me an email. You can find my contact details through Athletic Koala. Just Google it. But I would just love to say big thanks to Lewis, and I look forward to seeing you on the next podcast, people.